Have you ever felt a quiet emptiness, even when your home is filled with silence? What if the secret to lasting happiness after 70 isn't about being with others, but about finding peace within yourself? And could it be that this stage of life holds more joy than you ever imagined if you just know where to look? Have you ever felt alone and wondered how to truly stay happy in your 70s or 80s? It's not something most people bring up in conversation, yet deep down, many older adults carry this question in their hearts every day. As the years pass, life changes. People move, loved ones pass on, and long-held connections quietly fade away. One day, you find yourself surrounded by time, space, and stillness, but not always by companionship. But here's a gentle truth. Being alone doesn't have to mean being unhappy. In fact, many people discover unexpected strength, deep peace, and even joy in their solitude, often more than they ever thought possible. In this video, we'll explore 5 powerful guides designed to help you find real happiness while living alone, especially if you're an older adult without close friendships or regular social interactions. These aren't just survival tips to pass the time. They're meaningful shifts, grounded in emotional wisdom, psychological insight, and everyday experience that can bring comfort, clarity, and even a lightness back into your days. Each of these 5 guides will help you understand not only what to do, but also why it matters. Whether you're newly adjusting to solitude or have been on this path for some time, there's something in this message that might gently transform the way you see this chapter of life. And make sure to stay with us until the end, because the final ideas could not only lift your spirits, but completely change how you view solitude moving forward. Let's begin with the first guide. A meaningful daily routine. One of the most reliable ways to stay happy while living alone is to create a daily rhythm that brings structure, comfort, and a renewed sense of purpose to your life. When you're younger, the outside world often dictates your schedule, work, raising children, or social obligations. Appointments and obligations often guide our days when we're younger. But later in life, especially when you live alone, you may wake up to a quiet morning with no one waiting, no deadlines looming, and no one expecting anything from you. That kind of freedom, while it might seem like a blessing at first, can slowly drain your motivation if left unchecked. The wide-open space of an unstructured day can feel aimless unless it's gently shaped with intention. Having a routine doesn't mean crowding your schedule or forcing productivity. It simply means waking up already knowing the next step your feet will take. Maybe you begin with a warm cup of coffee and 5 peaceful minutes beside a sunlit window. Perhaps you always enjoy a short walk after lunch or gently stretch your body before dinner. These familiar moments form a gentle rhythm, and in that rhythm, peace begins to take root. It may seem insignificant, but your brain craves that kind of structure. Just as music relies on a beat to create harmony, life feels more grounded when there's a natural flow to your day. Even if no one else shares your schedule, even if the world outside is quiet, that inner structure provides something solid to hold on to. And when you already know what's coming next, you're less likely to feel stuck or aimless. You move from drifting through time to moving forward with quiet, deliberate purpose. And no, not every moment needs to be filled with action. In fact, the most soul-nourishing routines often include rest, a short nap after lunch, some time spent reading a favorite book, or tending lovingly to your plants. The aim isn't to stay busy as if you're patching holes in a leaky boat. The real goal is to honor your time, to treat your day like it truly matters, because it does. There's also something deeply empowering about choosing your own structure. When you decide how your time is spent, even in the smallest ways, you reclaim a sense of control. You remind yourself, this is still my life. I'm the one guiding it. That quiet ownership can lift your mood, strengthen your confidence, and boost your sense of self-worth, especially during a stage of life when external expectations may have faded. Take Harold, for example. At 76, he starts each morning by writing down 3 things: one task, one treat, and one thought. The task might be something simple like folding clothes. The treat could be a walk with music playing in his ears. And the thought? Sometimes it's a quote. Sometimes it's a quiet feeling from the night before. This small habit, repeated every single day, has kept his life from fading into monotony. It gives him a reason to get up and something to smile about before going to sleep. When you live alone, the real danger isn't just boredom. It's the creeping sense that your days no longer hold meaning, that what you do or don't do simply doesn't matter. But the truth is, your days absolutely do matter. A daily routine, no matter how small or ordinary it may seem, can be one of the most powerful ways to remind yourself of that. You don't need a full house or a bustling schedule to feel the shape of your life. All it takes is a sense of rhythm and a touch of intention. This kind of rhythm also gently guides you toward emotional self-reliance. As we age, especially when living alone, one of the most important skills we can develop is learning to become our own emotional anchor. Without the daily presence of friends or family, there are moments that can feel almost too quiet, eerily still. Maybe it's the silence that greets you when you walk into your home. Or maybe it's when you feel the urge to share a memory, a joke, even a complaint. But there's no one there to listen. In those moments, emotional self-reliance isn't just a nice idea, it becomes vital. But don't mistake emotional self-reliance for pretending you don't need anyone. It's not about isolation or denying your emotions. It's about knowing how to soothe and support yourself when no one else is around. It's having the strength to sit with your own feelings, whether they're peaceful, painful, confusing, or grateful, and respond with compassion, the same way you'd comfort a dear friend. Many older adults were never taught how to do this growing up. The message was clear: push through, stay strong, don't dwell. But this stage of life asks for something different, something softer. It asks you to pause, to really listen to what you're feeling, and to respond gently. Start by noticing how you speak to yourself in your own mind. When you make a mistake, is your inner voice critical or kind? Do you carry guilt or regrets like old luggage? Emotional self-reliance begins with awareness, tuning into that voice and learning to soften it. Try saying to yourself, "I did my best today," or "It's okay to feel this way." Even a simple, "I'm here, I've got me." At first, it might feel awkward or unnatural, but over time, these small moments of self-compassion build your emotional foundation. They become your quiet strength. Think of it like this. When you were younger, you probably leaned on someone for reassurance. A partner, a parent, a friend. But as time goes on, those voices may fade. They may not be close anymore, or may no longer be here at all. That doesn't mean you're left without support. It means you now have the power to be that voice for yourself, to notice what you need and meet it with the same patience and grace you once gave to others. Take Carol, for instance. She's 81 and has found her own way of doing this. She keeps a small journal where she writes to herself each evening. She calls it her evening check-in. Some nights, the pages fill up with thoughts and reflections. Other times, it's just a single, simple sentence. "I felt lonely at dinner, but I'm proud I made something warm and ate at the table." That's all. No one else ever reads it. But to her, it's not about being read. It's about being seen. And when you're living alone, sometimes the thing you crave most is simply to feel seen, even if the one doing the seeing is you. Another quiet yet powerful way to build emotional self-reliance is by using breath and stillness. When emotions swell, maybe it's sadness, maybe fear, or even a sudden wave of frustration, pause. Take a moment to breathe deeply and slowly. That act alone signals to your nervous system, "We're safe, we're okay." And in that pause, your mind gains the space to respond with intention, instead of just reacting on impulse. Over time, this kind of breathing practice becomes a reliable anchor, a calming tool you can turn to during long afternoons, difficult memories, or those unexpected moments when grief sneaks up on you. It's also important to let go of the shame often attached to loneliness. Feeling lonely doesn't mean you've failed at anything. It simply means you're human. And instead of pushing that feeling away or pretending it doesn't exist, emotional self-reliance encourages you to sit with it gently. Acknowledge it, feel it without judgment, and then slowly steer yourself back toward calm, like steady hands guiding a wheel through uncertain roads. And here's the truly powerful part. The more you learn to recognize and meet your own emotional needs, the less dependent you become on the unpredictable presence or absence of others. You still welcome connection, of course, companionship, laughter, shared moments. But your peace is no longer tied to whether someone else shows up. That's not loneliness. That's personal strength. That's true resilience. If you're still watching and these words are resonating with you, take a moment to type the number 2 in the comments. I'd love to know you're here. And if you haven't yet subscribed, I highly recommend you do and turn on the notification bell. That way, you won't miss any future videos. Your support truly means a lot. It helps us continue making meaningful content that informs and inspires. Now, let's continue with our next guide. Number 3, finding joy in small sensory pleasures. Because when you live alone, especially in your later years, happiness doesn't always arrive in grand gestures or life-changing events. More often, it hides in the quiet little things, the gentle warmth of sunlight resting on your hands, the comforting scent of something simmering on the stove, the soft hum of your favorite song playing in the corner of the room. These are the small sensory pleasures many people overlook in the rush of daily life. But when you live alone, they can become the gentle heartbeat of your day. Your senses, sight, sound, touch, smell, and taste, are not just ways of interacting with the world. They're deeply powerful pathways to joy. And when you're not constantly surrounded by conversation, busyness, or distractions, you're given the rare chance to slow down and truly notice what's already around you. That cup of tea in your favorite mug? It's more than just hydration. It's a quiet moment of comfort. The cozy blanket you pull over your legs while watching a movie? It's not just warmth, it's reassurance. These small touches and sensations carry more meaning than we often realize. And the more closely you pay attention to them, the more they start to lift your spirits, sometimes so subtly that you don't even notice until you feel better. There's a reason these sensory details hold such psychological power. When we engage our senses, our minds shift into the present moment. And for many older adults who live alone, staying grounded in the now can feel like a lifeline. You're not rehashing old regrets or worrying about the future. You're simply here, letting the soft breeze from an open window brush across your face. That's where peace lives, not in constant motion, but in quiet noticing. Another quiet yet powerful way to build emotional self-reliance is by using breath and stillness. When emotions swell, maybe it's sadness, maybe fear, or even a sudden wave of frustration, pause. Take a moment to breathe deeply and slowly. That act alone signals to your nervous system, we're safe, we're okay. And in that pause, your mind gains the space to respond with intention, instead of just reacting on impulse. Over time, this kind of breathing practice becomes a reliable anchor, a calming tool you can turn to during long afternoons, difficult memories, or those unexpected moments when grief sneaks up on you. It's also important to let go of the shame often attached to loneliness. Feeling lonely doesn't mean you've failed at anything. It simply means you're human. And instead of pushing that feeling away or pretending it doesn't exist, emotional self-reliance encourages you to sit with it gently, acknowledge it, feel it without judgment, and then slowly steer yourself back toward calm, like steady hands guiding a wheel through uncertain roads. And here's the truly powerful part. The more you learn to recognize and meet your own emotional needs, the less dependent you become on the unpredictable presence or absence of others. You still welcome connection, of course, companionship, laughter, shared moments. But your peace is no longer tied to whether someone else shows up. That's not loneliness. That's personal strength. That's true resilience. If you're still watching and these words are resonating with you, take a moment to type the number 2 in the comments. I'd love to know you're here. And if you haven't yet subscribed, I highly recommend you do and turn on the notification bell. That way, you won't miss any future videos. Your support truly means a lot. It helps us continue making meaningful content that informs and inspires. Now, Let's continue with our next guide. Number 3. Finding joy in small sensory pleasures. Because when you live alone, especially in your later years, happiness doesn't always arrive in grand gestures or life-changing events. More often, it hides in the quiet little things, the gentle warmth of sunlight resting on your hands, the comforting scent of something simmering on the stove, the soft hum of your favorite song playing in the corner of the room. These are the small sensory pleasures many people overlook in the rush of daily life. But when you live alone, they can become the gentle heartbeat of your day. Your senses, sight, sound, touch, smell, and taste, are not just ways of interacting with the world. They're deeply powerful pathways to joy. And when you're not constantly surrounded by conversation, busyness, or distractions, you're given the rare chance to slow down and truly notice what's already around you. That cup of tea in your favorite mug? It's more than just hydration. It's a quiet moment of comfort. The cozy blanket you pull over your legs while watching a movie? It's not just warmth, it's reassurance. These small touches and sensations carry more meaning than we often realize. And the more closely you pay attention to them, the more they start to lift your spirits, sometimes so subtly that you don't even notice until you feel better. There's a reason these sensory details hold such psychological power. When we engage our senses, our minds shift into the present moment. And for many older adults who live alone, staying grounded in the now can feel like a lifeline. You're not rehashing old regrets or worrying about the future. You're simply here, letting the soft breeze from an open window brush across your face. That's where peace lives, not in constant motion, but in quiet noticing. It's easy to feel invisible. You walk through the grocery store, and no one meets your eyes. You sit alone on a bench at the park, and people pass by without stopping to say hello. The silence can feel heavy. But here's something worth remembering. Being seen doesn't always require someone knowing your whole story. Sometimes it's the smallest of moments, a passing glance, a nod, or a kind smile, that can stir that deep sense of belonging again. Start with something simple. When you go out for a walk, try making eye contact with those you pass. Offer a soft smile. Say a warm, "Good morning." You may not have a full conversation. You may never see that person again. But those tiny gestures, they matter more than you might think. Because in that brief connection, you're silently saying, "I'm still here, and so are you." Another beautiful way to feel connected is by contributing something, especially when it's done without expecting anything in return. Dennis, a man I once spoke with, who's now 79, has a quiet tradition. He leaves handwritten notes tucked into library books. They're never long, just a sentence or two. "This story made me laugh. Hope it brings you a smile too." Or, "You're not alone. Keep going." He'll likely never know who reads them. But for him, the act of writing them creates a silent thread of connection, a chain of kindness linking strangers together. Volunteering, even in the smallest ways, can also rekindle your connection with the world. Some older adults read stories to children over the phone. Others knit blankets for local hospitals or write heartfelt cards for people in hospice care. You don't need to be the center of attention or speak loudly. Just showing up, in whatever way you can, places you back in relationship with the world. It reminds you that you still have something to give, and that giving still matters. Even technology can help bridge the distance. You might not be interested in scrolling endlessly through social media, but maybe there's an online forum or a YouTube comment section where others your age are sharing their thoughts, their stories, their lives. Reading those words, leaving a reply, simply being part of the exchange. That too is a form of community. And maybe you enjoy sending birthday cards to your neighbors or leaving a kind review for your favorite local bakery. These acts might seem small on the surface, but they send out quiet ripples of connection. And those ripples often return in ways you don't expect. A smile from the bakery owner next time you visit. A neighbor waving a little longer than usual. What matters most here is not the size of your actions, but the direction of your energy. Instead of turning inward and closing off, you're reaching outward, gently, sincerely, consistently. You're saying to the world, I may be living alone, but I'm not disconnected. And in doing so, the world begins to respond, not with noise or spectacle, but with a soft, steady warmth. Think back to the last time a stranger did something kind for you. Maybe someone held the door open when your hands were full. Maybe they helped you lift a heavy bag, or simply offered a kind word as they passed by. Do you remember how it made you feel, even if it only lasted a moment? That warmth, that unexpected kindness. You can be that moment for someone else. And in giving that to another person, you quietly deepen your own sense of connection to the world around you. There's also a quiet kind of peace that comes from simply sharing space with others, even without saying a single word. Sitting at a cafe with a warm drink, slowly walking through a museum, or spending a little time in a community garden, these moments give your spirit a place to breathe. They remind you that you're not on the sidelines of life. You're still part of it, fully and beautifully, even if you're moving through it alone, even if your presence is quiet. And here's a gentle truth that often goes unspoken. The world needs people like you, people who pause to notice beauty, people who observe rather than interrupt, people who smile not because they want something, but simply because it's kind. Your steady presence, your patience, your quiet strength, they all add value to the world around you. You may live alone, but your existence sends ripples outward in meaningful ways. Every small act of kindness, every moment of attention or care becomes a thread in the larger fabric of connection. You don't have to wait for someone else to reach out first. You can be the beginning, the start of something good, one quiet ripple at a time. If you're still here, watching this video and finding meaning in these words, I'd love for you to comment the number 4 below. It lets me know you're with us. And if you haven't subscribed yet, consider clicking that button and turning on the notification bell. That way, you'll never miss new videos like this one. Your support truly helps us continue to create thoughtful content that both informs and inspires. Now, let's move forward with our next guide. Keeping your mind curious and engaged. Because when the noise and bustle of social life begin to fade, and you find yourself surrounded by more quiet time than ever before, one of the most nourishing things you can do for your happiness is to keep your mind active. Not just entertained or distracted, but truly awake, alive with curiosity, wonder, and a desire to keep learning. There's a common misconception that, after a certain age, the mind just begins to slow down, that the season of discovery is behind you. But both neuroscience and lived experience paint a very different picture. As long as you're breathing, your brain still has the power to learn, to grow, and to make fresh connections. In fact, many older adults who describe themselves as feeling the most fulfilled and content are those who've managed to keep their minds open, even when the world around them has grown quieter. Learning doesn't have to mean returning to school or taking on some massive, intimidating challenge. Instead, it simply means creating little openings in your mind for something new to enter. That might look like picking up a book in a genre you've never read before, or watching a documentary on a topic far outside your usual interests. Maybe it's trying a new recipe that includes an ingredient you've never used. Even something as small as listening to a podcast while folding your laundry can introduce a fresh idea, a new voice, or a different perspective. Learning, in this sense, isn't about achievement, it's about engagement. There's a man named Frank, he's 82, who decided to try painting for the first time just last year. He'd never even held a paintbrush before. But one afternoon, while walking past an art store, something nudged him. He stepped inside, picked out a small watercolor set, and took it home. Now, he paints a little bit every day. He says he doesn't create masterpieces, but that's not the point. Every time he dips his brush in water and presses color onto paper, he feels something inside him come alive. He's learning to see the world in shades he never noticed. He's learning to be patient with himself. And more importantly, he's learning that the joy comes not from the finished piece, but from the process of discovery itself. When you keep your mind curious, something powerful happens. Life no longer feels like it's shrinking or narrowing. Instead, it starts to stretch open again. You begin noticing new things, drawing small connections between your past and the present, between things you've always known and those you're just starting to understand. This kind of mental engagement gives your mind a path to follow. And when your thoughts are moving, exploring, reaching forward, there's less room for loneliness or hopelessness to settle in. Another beautiful thing about learning is how it quietly strengthens the relationship you have with yourself. Every time you explore something new, you're telling yourself, I still have questions, I still care, I still want to know more. That simple message becomes a powerful affirmation, especially during a time of life when many people feel overlooked or underestimated. And it doesn't have to be formal or academic. Learning can happen in the soil of your backyard, where gardening teaches you patience and attentiveness week by week. Watching birds at your window can become a gentle, ongoing study in observation. Learning a new hymn, prayer, or meditation practice can bring new depth to your spiritual life. Even writing down your memories, the moments you've lived through, the stories that shaped you, can show you parts of yourself you hadn't fully seen before. Within your own memories, your daily patterns, even your quiet reflections, lie wisdom and meaning that may have gone unnoticed for years. And when you choose to keep your mind active, you're not only enriching your inner life, you're also supporting your overall health. Research consistently shows that seniors who remain mentally engaged tend to experience better memory retention, clearer thinking, and greater emotional resilience. And the best part? It's not about solving complex math problems or memorizing obscure trivia. It's about staying curious, open, and willing to be surprised. Think about the last time you learned something unexpected. Something small, maybe, but enough to make you pause and say, I didn't know that. It doesn't matter where it came from. A book, a documentary, a casual conversation, even a mistake you made and learned from. That moment, that tiny flicker of realization, is what keeps your inner world bright. It reminds you that your spirit can still feel young, still feel sparked by discovery. And the more often you feed that curiosity, the more vibrant and alive you'll feel, especially in the quiet hours of the day. When you're at home and the noise of the outside world fades, you're given a powerful choice. You can let your mind contract and close in, or you can allow it to stretch, to reach towards something new. One path leads to peace, clarity, and gentle momentum. The other often leads to stagnation, a dull ache of disconnection. And the difference between them? It often begins with something as small as choosing to open a book, to ask a question, to press play on a program that piques your interest. So whether it's a half-finished puzzle waiting on your kitchen table, a map hanging on your wall that sparks wanderlust, or a childhood memory you finally decide to write down, these are not just hobbies. They are small but powerful ways to keep your mind moving. Not in a rushed or pressured way, but in a curious and kind one. Keeping your mind engaged will not only help pass the time, it will give your days structure, meaning, and a splash of color, even during your quietest moments. Because in the end, true happiness when you're alone doesn't come from constant distraction. It comes from focused attention, from being present, from discovering something new about the world, or perhaps more importantly, about yourself. As we come to the end of this video, take a few quiet moments to reflect on the 5 gentle guides we've shared. Which one spoke to your heart the most? Was it the comfort of creating a daily rhythm? Or perhaps the reminder that joy still lives in the scent of a home-cooked meal, the sound of a favorite song, or the feel of soft fabric on your skin? Whatever it was, hold on to it. Let it settle quietly within you. Living alone in your later years can sometimes feel like standing outside the rhythm of the world, like you're watching life happen at a distance. But the truth is, this chapter offers its own kind of beauty, a beauty that moves more slowly, more softly, but no less meaningfully. There is a quieter kind of beauty in this stage of life, one that doesn't demand noise, applause, or constant motion. Instead, it gently invites peace, personal growth, and self-respect. Being alone does not make you any less worthy. Just because the phone rings less often doesn't mean you've been forgotten. In fact, this might be the moment when you're more in tune with yourself than you've ever been before. That kind of deep inner clarity is both rare and incredibly powerful. So wherever you are right now, maybe you're sitting on your porch with a book in your lap, standing by the kitchen sink lost in thought, or lying quietly in bed with the glow of the screen lighting the room. Know this: happiness is still within reach. It's not something you need to chase in crowds or look for in loud places. Sometimes, all it takes is a little courage to try something new or to see something familiar with fresh, open eyes. And never forget, you're not truly alone. Right here in this very community, in the comments below, are others just like you. People navigating solitude, choosing to live mindfully, and learning how to thrive in this quieter chapter of life. You're surrounded by fellow travelers, even if you can't see them. Thank you so much for spending time with us today. We would love to hear from you. Please leave a comment below and share one meaningful takeaway, something you learned it from this video, and how you might use it in your daily life. Your voice matters, and your words may encourage someone else who needs to hear them. Reading your thoughts brings us motivation, connection, and joy. If you enjoyed this video and found it helpful, please give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and consider sharing it with someone who may benefit. Your support allows us to continue creating thoughtful, inspiring content for you and others on a similar journey. Wishing you continued health, happiness, and peace. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more. Take care, and see you in the next video.